If you go into your job search with the attitude that you're never going to get the job because you won't be able to explain the employment gaps, guess what? You're right. You won't. Why? Because you will never be willing to try. So you have to get your attitude in check before you move forward. Welcome to the Workforce Link podcast, where we're offering forward-thinking conversations for the workforce, linking employers and job seekers to a brighter tomorrow. I'm your host, Sunday Jo Graham, and I am glad to be back with you for another episode today. You know, it's easy for those of us who have employment gaps to immediately shame ourselves and get the mindset that because of that, we'll never be able to get a decent job. But that is not always true. There's a right way to talk about gaps on your resume, and there's a wrong way. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the right way to do it. Before we dive into today's episode, though, I would love to know if you are enjoying this podcast, would you mind sharing it with a friend or a coworker who would enjoy it as well? You know, maybe you have a friend that's looking for a new job and could use some tips on how to explain those gaps on their resume. And if you haven't already, would you mind leaving a review for the Workforce Link podcast wherever it is that you enjoy listening? Let us know what you enjoy about the show. Let us know what you don't enjoy about the show. It really means a lot to us, and it helps us stay visible so that others can easily find us. All right, now let's dive into today's episode on how to overcome the job gap on your resume. The first thing you want to do, number one, change your mindset. You know, as we've talked about in previous episodes throughout the 3 seasons of this podcast, our mindset means everything. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So if you go into your job search with the attitude that you're never going to get the job because you won't be able to explain the employment gaps, guess what? You're right. You won't. Why? Because you'll never be willing to try. So you have to get your attitude in check before you move forward. You can let your past define your future, or you can stand up and do something different. It is really all up to you. Okay, so change your mindset and everything else changes. Number 2, use an experience summary instead of an objective statement. So objective statements are really no longer needed on resumes, whether you have an employment gap or you don't. They don't really do a great job of telling the employer that they need what they need or what they want to know. It really just shows more of what you want. And though you want to show your skills, you don't want to make it all about you, right? So let me share an example of an objective statement. To obtain a customer service position in the retail industry. Okay, so what does that say? To obtain a customer service position in the retail industry, it says, look, this is what I want versus, hey, this is what I can give you. See the difference there? So an experience summary example, let me share this with you. It says, energetic and optimistic customer service representative with over 3 years of professional experience assisting customers in solving complex issues. Looking forward to supporting ABC Incorporated and becoming a leader in your market. Awarded Employee of the Month 3 times. Okay, so by providing a summary of your experience, you're showing the skills necessary for that specific job, right? Skills that the employer is going to see right away. And so when they know that you have what it takes before they ever even look at your employment info, guess what? They're already impressed. And nobody honestly wants to hear the word obtain on a resume anymore. It is truly as old as the sun, okay? So you're not mentioning your job gap here at all, okay? You're showing first and foremost that you are the person for the job because you have the skills to do the job, okay? So use an experience summary instead of an objective statement. Are you having a hard time finding the right job? As a job seeker, you spend countless hours scouring job boards. You attend information sessions only to find opportunities that won't let you do the things that you are passionate about, or that take you to cities you'd prefer not to go. But it doesn't have to be that way. Talify is going to help your dream job discover you for free. In under 30 minutes, Talify will identify and analyze your personal strengths, providing career and interview guidance uniquely tailored to you. At the same time, and based on your individual interests, they highlight you to employers among the most interesting global companies, startups, and nonprofits as their potential next top performer. Talify broadens the opportunities available to job seekers and the diversity of candidates available to employers. Get started on the path to finding your new career pathway today at cwdregion.com/Talify. That's cwdregion.com/Talify. Okay, number 3, list your employment gap under your experience. So the employer is going to ask about your employment gap, okay? If you have the chance to tell them about it before they can even ask, you want to do that. By explaining it clearly on your resume without writing a book, this opens the door for you to be able to provide further explanation once you get in the interview. And remember, you don't have to share too many details, okay? Keep it short, keep it sweet. So answer questions on your resume like, why were you out of a job during that time? Were you raising a family? Were you in school? Were you incarcerated? The employer wants to know what you were doing, okay? Not necessarily why. Now, if the answer is incarceration, okay, don't let that hold you back because you most likely did some type of job while you were in prison. Talk about it. We should actually do a whole episode on this. Remind me to do that, okay? Explain why you have the gap. Share what you learned along the way and make sure that you have a finish line, okay? Make sure you have a finish line. Don't keep talking. We can actually help you do this by helping you create an elevator pitch for your interview. So an elevator pitch is one of the most important tools that you have when applying for a job. When you position yourself with confidence and you clearly summarize your experience, your skills, your desirable characteristics, the employer is ready to listen. So put in a nutshell, you're going to impress the employer. We actually created a free guide that has 4 proven simple steps that will help you do just that and wow the employer. And you can download it for free. It's cwdregion.com/elevator pitch. And I will also share the link to that in the show notes. Okay, so you want to make sure that you list your employment gap under your experience. Number 4, don't put the gap on your cover letter. So remember that the cover letter is not about you, right? It's about what you can do for the employer, about what you can bring to the company. And so this is where you get to highlight the skills that you're going to bring to that specific job. So make sure you're talking about the company more than you're talking about yourself. Show your passion for what they're doing. Paint a picture of how you fit into that picture, right? Understand their mission and how you can help fulfill that mission. And you have to go back and do your research to understand what their mission is sometimes. Make them feel a connection to you before they ever even get to the resume. Okay, that's how important your cover letter is. And we actually talked about how to write a cover letter worth noticing, I believe in episode 22 of the podcast. And I will share the link to that in the show notes for you. And we covered in that episode some very specific do's and don'ts to help you create the perfect cover letter. Okay, so don't put the gap on your cover letter. All right, so let's do a quick recap on how to overcome that job gap on your resume. Number 1, you want to keep a positive mindset. Number 2, use an experience summary instead of an objective statement. Number 3, list your gap under the experience section of your resume. And number 4, keep your job gap out of your cover letter. Okay? I hope these tips have been helpful for you and good luck in your job search. Okay? That is it for today's episode. Have a great week, my friend, and we will meet again in the next episode. Until then, remember this: there's always a brighter tomorrow if you're willing to find it. The Central Region Workforce Development Board Incorporated and COPIC are equal opportunity employers and programs. Auxiliary aids and services are available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Missouri Relay Services at 711.